On this episode of Around the County, we take a look at a young high school author on the rise, a student with a challenge who is beating the odds, and a young entrepreneur who plans for a successful future. All this and more on this trip around the county.
Welcome to Around the County. I'm Lauren Sultner.
And I'm Eric Hoffman.
On Around the County, we introduce you to some interesting people you've never met and take you to some places you've never been.
First, producer Spencer Gilbert gives you an inside look on Zach Rising, a high school sophomore who is soaring above and beyond the expectations of cerebral palsy.
Zach Rising is a sophomore at Noblesville High School. He wants to be a pilot and is a future Eagle Scout. Zach has been interested in aviation almost his entire life, in part to his father and his role model, Neil Armstrong.
I'm not taking credit for it, but I have my pilot's license, and when he was, I don't know, probably 6, 7, he started recognizing things that I had about aviation, and we took some vacations. We went down to Kennedy Space Center, and it just, kind of grew on him.
It's because of my number one idol, Neil Armstrong. He was an Eagle Scout. He was a pilot. He was the first man on the moon.
Aside from being a pilot, Zach is described as a happy-go-lucky kid with a great attitude.
He's such a happy kid. He always is making me smile, always making jokes, and always fun kid to be around.
Overcoming his disability starts with attitude and perseverance.
A normal student sometimes doesn't always look normal, but he's kind of redefining what normal is and working his way through each problem as it comes. And he's really, I think peers are starting to open up to him more, and he's starting to open up to peers more. So
He won't stop. It's hard, and it goes back to the persistence. There's days when it's really difficult and he really gets tired, but he just keeps plugging. That's the persistent part of him. He just keeps going. He's not going to let it beat him.
Cerebral palsy isn't what makes Zach unique, it's his personality.
Well, his CP makes him unique, but just his personality of always being in a good mood and laughing and joking is probably what makes him unique. The CP isn't what labels him, but he does have to deal with that.
Zach gets motivation from people doubting him and not believing he can do something.
Of all the doubters in the world that say I can do something, I say, watch me.
Welcome back. We're joined by Zach Rising, NHS student pilot. Zach, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
First question, when did you start flying?
I started in about 2012.
Okay, 2012. What is your favorite thing about flying?
Just that I can be up in the air and I can defy the odds.
Definitely. What made you want to be a pilot?
I wanted to be a pilot ever since I was born, really. Well, it really started because my dad is a private pilot, and that kind of fed into me, basically.
And you do have cerebral palsy. What challenges comes with that?
Oh, do you mean in the flying aspect?
Both, just in everyday life and just in flying too.
Well, everyday life, it's hard for me to walk as pretty much all NHS knows. And in flying, whenever I get in the plane, I have to get in a certain way other than the normal way that people get in. And, I mean, yeah.
So when you're flying, what's that feeling like when you're up in the air?
Craziness, basically, because you know you are the pilot in command, basically. And I mean, I know everything about flying. It's just crazy.
Crazy? Okay. What's next for you? What's next for Zach Rising with flying?
Like when I get my pilot's license or what? Well, after I get my pilot's license, hopefully I'll get a job as like an airline pilot or something. And yeah.
Okay. And for other people that have CP or going through it, what advice can you give to them through challenges they have to go through?
Don't let your disability define you.
And who influenced you to fly?
Neil Armstrong, first man on the moon. There's a story behind it. That my dad went to Purdue and I was with him, and at his fraternity house, Neil Armstrong was one of the alumni there, so that kind of made me go all crazy about that.
Awesome. Well, Zach, thank you for joining us. I hope you really keep flying and just have a lot of fun. So thank you for joining me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We've been told since we were young to not judge a book by its cover. Well, what about the author? Olivia Pavich, a senior at NHS, is an author of 2 published books and another one on the way. Producer Megan Springer takes us through the pages.
I first started writing in the 6th grade after my dad forced me to read part of the Percy Jackson series, because up until the 6th grade I wasn't really a reader or a writer or very good at school at all. It kind of gave me something that I actually wanted to do with my life. It was a lot of writing, a lot of editing, and then after I finally got it edited and perfected, you have to make a cover, you have to have the perfect format for it, and then through Amazon, which is the way I did it for ebook, I had to send it off to them, get everything checked off, pick a price, kind of pick a royalty, so how much I would make off of it. And then it took a little over 12 hours, and then it was out on the website. I kind of learned that no matter how many times you want to quit, and that's a big thing in writing, you always want to quit, that you just gotta keep going. You gotta finish through with it, and then in the end it's rewarding when you hear people talk about it.
I thought it was really cool that she wrote it herself, you know, that she took like set schedule and just sat down and wrote it. And it was really good. Like, I enjoyed it, and the characters were fun and interesting, and it was an altogether good book.
The surprising thing was when people actually started, like from our school, would actually start looking into it, and they'd read it and they'd come back to me. And many people were upset at the end of the first books that they were telling me about that, and I just liked the way that they saw the characters.
Well, I had lunch with her last semester, and so someone brought up her book because they had read it, and I was like, "You wrote a book? That's so cool!" And I was immediately interested, and so I wanted to read about it, or to read it, because I wanted to see how a student had like written an actual book. I don't know, to me it's so interesting to have someone my age do something so great, and so as I was reading it, I was just amazed by the complexity of all of it.
I've learned that by the characters I create, I can see part of my own characteristics reflected in them, and it kind of teaches me about myself and kind of the characteristics I want as a person and don't want. If you're gonna write a story, you just gotta start the story and you gotta keep writing, because there's always time to go back and fix it. And it's gonna take a really long time to write. But what you have to do is you just gotta put something on the page, because writer's block happens all the time.
High school is a time for students to prepare for a bright future. Brad Wolf, a student at NHS Innovations class, is a constant reminder of how successful students can be. Producer Adam Van Dam takes a look at Brad's cool ideas for the future.
We all know of the famous innovations works going on here at NHS, but what really goes on behind the scenes? How are students able to utilize their short time here to create a bright future for themselves?
I'm Bradford Wolf. I'm a senior at Noblesville High School in Indiana, and I wake up every morning at 4:30 with one goal in mind, and that is to do more than I did the day before.
Bradford Wolf, a student innovator, published author, successful YouTuber, and co-founder of the Startup Human, is here to tell us exactly what he does every single day to keep himself busy.
The Storybook Factory is a huge project of mine, and what we do is we take kids' books and we put them on YouTube, but we do it a bit differently. We add a little page transitions and add some really cool sound effects to make the books more lively and more entertaining for the kids. And in doing so, it really redefines the way that people interact with stories. Currently, we have over 370 subscribers, and that's not bad considering we started pushing out a book every single week starting in September. And it's a nice project to keep up with, because it keeps me busy, and it's just a nice fun thing to do in my free time. And I really do enjoy doing it. I'm at Stony Creek Elementary. I'm going to be visiting a couple classrooms, seeing what they're doing in their Genius Hour time, and introducing Thrively. Let's go. I have been working with this company called Thrively for a couple months now. They're a really cool company. They're dedicated to finding kids' passions for them. They want to help them easily find what they love to do and thrive at it. And we do a lot of partnering work together. For them, I try and get kids signed up onto Thrively. I'll go to tons of schools and stuff like that, and I'll introduce them to what Thrively can do. And I get them connected, I get them logged on. And Thrively, in return, has done a lot for me as well. They recently invited me up to New York to give a little speech at NYU, just to kind of introduce Thrively and introduce who I was. And that went really well. So thank you, Thrively, for inviting me up there. I'm getting to experience all these opportunities that most high schoolers never get the opportunity to do. So I'm very lucky to have gotten to go up to New York and see what real entrepreneurship looks like. The Startup Human is another big project of mine. I actually work on it with my friend. His name is Zach Baker, and the two of us are really into productivity. Now what the Startup Human is it's a blog where people can go to if they want to be more productive with their life. And we release an article every single Monday. So we have things on hacking your sleep and how stand-up desks can benefit your health. Just crazy weird stuff you really wouldn't think of. We want to optimize every single human's life. We want to make everybody a productive human being. And we're doing that through the Startup Human. So one thing I really touched base on when we first started this interview was that I get up every morning at 4:30 with one goal in mind, and that is to do more than I did the day before. I always do my best to do more. Like, I want to experience new things, try new things, and hustle every single day. You know, I'm one of those people who believe that, you know, success does come from hard work, and that's how I see it. So if I want to become successful in my life, I have to start now. It's not time to mess around. It's not time to party. It's not time to, I have to focus. I really have to keep my attention on what needs to be done. For me right now, that's my productivity levels, the Startup Human, and the Storybook Factory. That's my big focus. If I can become successful in those, then I'll become successful in life. That's how I see it. I'm Bradford Wolf, and I plan on continuing to get up at 4:30 every single morning with the same exact mindset of doing more than I did the day before.
Hare Field, home to Friday night football and competitive track meets. Producer Eric Hoffman gives you an inside look into this historic field and the people who call it home.
From 85 to 89 as a high school athlete, but the first time I ever raced, I was in 2nd grade and I ran there.
First time I coached at Hare Field as a part of Noblesville football was in 2013. We opened the season with Fishers High School.
First time I played at Hare Field was in 8th grade. It was just a fun environment. It was kind of cool just to be out on a big field like that with the stands.
This will be my 30th season. Started in 1986. It was called Swanson Field when I came. And the bleachers were pretty rickety. My first vision of the track was when I was interviewed in the spring of '86.
But the field itself, I remember Swanson Field before that. You know, it was there my entire life, obviously.
Had some pretty fun races there. I think the best one was last year at a meet called the Miller Invite.
The most favorite memory is all about track meets where we had some excellent competitive races. Normally our big meets against Carmel, against our Miller Invite competition or Noblesville Relays. Those are always highlight type races.
And as a runner, obviously I've got a lot of good memories there. I ran my fastest mile in a relay there as a junior. You know, I'll always have fond memories of that place.
Hare is a place that I feel comfortable at competing.
Certainly as an athlete myself, it felt like there was a time where that was my home in a sense.
Hare Field means home, track. That's where I spent a lot of my time, my life. It's a great facility now. It's grown over the years. Just enjoy being out there because I spent a lot of springs there, a lot of cold days, a lot of warm days, and every once in a while you get lucky and have a great race.
My favorite memory would have been senior night of last year. It's kind of hard to say goodbye to all the seniors that I've been playing with for a while, but it was just a nice time to say goodbye. Hare Field's basically just my home. I've been playing there since freshman year. I couldn't imagine playing anywhere else.
It's home. And when you talk about playing at home, you obviously want to win all those games because that's where the most amount of fan support is. That's where you have that home field environment. But there's always got to be something special about home, whether it's where you grow up or where you play on Friday night.
That's all we have for you today. Thanks for watching. I'm Eric Hoffman.
And I'm Lauren Seltner. We'll see you next time on Around the County.